Hello, ma'am. Zdravka Evtimova. It's such a pleasure and honor to meet you and to be able to talk to you. Thank you for agreeing for this interview, and I hope our viewers will love it. Before I start my first question, let me just very quickly introduce you for our listeners and viewers. Ma'am is the president of Pen Bulgaria. She has 4 collections of stories and 4 novels that have been published in various translations worldwide and have been awarded in very many European countries and in North America as well. And she has also been published in China. And I hope that I will be able to do some of her translations in Hindi. I'm looking forward to it. So, my first question to you, ma'am, is you're just back from Romania, and at the same time, you've just published your new novel. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about your new novel and also your trip to Romania? Was it about this novel and you also got an award in Romania? So tell us about them both.
Mhm. First of all, I'd like to tell you about my latest novel. It was published about 2 weeks ago. Its name is called A Preserve for Men and Wolves.
Wow.
It is a contemporary novel, a picture of life in today's Bulgaria. It tells about first disintegration of a family and the pain it gives the husband
Right.
and the wife as well.
Right.
But the suffering part is the kid,
Mhm.
and the novel, the main focus of the novel is that a people cannot be,
Mhm.
or a community of people cannot be ordered how to live, how to behave,
Exactly.
and the focus is freedom, not of a single person, but rather the freedom of community,
Mhm.
and everybody should be free, and how everybody struggles to be free within that community. And it is given through the eyes of a family that is on the verge of disintegration.
Wonderful, wonderful. And when you say this, does it mean that it is hinting somewhat towards the socialist past? This craving for freedom.
No, it is
Uh-huh.
not related to the socialist past.
Uh-huh.
It is related to the desire of Bulgarian people to develop their talents and their potentials, and some forces and some circumstances they have to face, and not only face but win over in order to be free and happy.
Wonderful.
It is
Great.
contemporary Bulgaria. It is not related to socialism in Bulgaria.
Amazing. That is wonderful, because then it is more interesting, because we have
Yeah.
done with the socialist.
I'd rather write
Right.
about the issues and problems we face today in Bulgaria. They are, of course, our socialist past has a lot to be criticized.
Mhm.
However, I think that most important is to find answers to questions that we ask ourselves
Exactly.
about personality.
Wonderful.
And about my trip to Romania,
Mhm. Yes.
I was invited to a festival organized by the International Academy called Mihai Eminescu. Mihai Eminescu is the national poet of Romania.
Wow.
He was born in 1850 and died in. He was born in 1850 and died in 1889.
Right.
So this festival dealt with predominantly with poetry.
Mhm.
They, however, the organizers, the academician Ion Diaconescu, gave prizes in these categories: poetry, fiction, literary translation, precise scientists, predominantly mathematics, and also a prize for a personality that helped raise the spirit of the Romanian people. I
Wonderful.
was awarded the prize for fiction.
Wow.
Le Prix de Prose, which means
Congratulations.
the prize for prose. And they say, and academician Ion Diaconescu said, that the main reason for giving me that prize was the creative way I use language, and also the expressiveness through which
Wonderful.
I deal with issues related to creativity, related to desire to achieve freedom in today's society. in Europe.
Wonderful, wonderful. Congratulations. And they're
Thank you.
also going to publish your collection of stories,
Yes,
Time
they
Tomorrow.
invited me. The editor of the publishing house to the University of Craiova, his name is Petrișor Militaru. He invited me to send him my short story collection, which I still have not done, but I will do it today in the evening. He's expecting, he has already translated 4 of my short stories that appeared in Romanian literary newspapers and magazines. So he said, send me a collection that you prefer. You can compose it out of different books.
Wonderful.
I have prepared it. It will be almost the same to the collection that I have prepared for translation in Arabic
Wow.
by a poet, an exceptional poet. His name is Feri Hamdan. He has lived in Bulgaria for 20 years, married here, has been married here. So this will be the same
Set of
the
stories.
Same, yes.
Wonderful.
Collection of stories.
Right. Now, I want to ask you about some of your earlier novels that have been very much in the critical talk. They have been talked about, and I will also ask you about some of your stories. But first, I want to ask about the novels. And let me begin with the one which is set in Radomir, Romania. I think it is a city of joy and Bulgaria. Radomir, Bulgaria, which is called the City of Joy and Peace.
The City of Joy and Peace. Yes, the Bulgarian title of that novel was different. It was called The Arch. The Arch. But my editor, a Fomite house who is related to the University of Vermont, he is a philosopher. His name is Mark Espen, and he usually changes the titles of my novel.
Wonderful.
He chose.
Wonderful.
He chose the
Arch.
title. It is again a picture of life in contemporary Bulgaria. This is what is much of greatest interest for me. What happens now to ordinary people, not only to those people who are important, who have a lot of money, but the people who have to struggle every day and have to show the world and themselves that they're worth, that they're worth success and they're worth happiness. And what I really admire is the dignity of these people in the streets. Of course, I try and describe some people, some moneyed people. Usually my heart is with the people in the street, and it shows in the novel.
Wonderful. It's a very, very big job. It's a big commendable thing to be able to show that.
The novel, that was, very much, the novel that people ask me to speak about usually is the novel whose Bulgarian title is Thursday. In the United States it is published under the title Sinfonia Bulgarica, which means a Bulgarian symphony. It is again about life in Bulgaria, when just about 20 years ago, where everybody in Bulgaria, we were passed through very tough times, and young people, both young and old, try to emigrate from and leave Bulgaria and go to the Western Europe. Now this is not the situation, but I describe the reasons why people wanted to leave their country. Not that they dislike it, on the contrary, they're in love with it, but financial and economic circumstances did not allow them to find jobs. There was unemployment. There was nothing to eat. Very expensive food. So people went. They were very well educated. Education in Bulgaria has always been high level. So they easily find jobs in Germany, France.
Right, right. It is the same story in India. But if I can ask you, this novel Thursday,
Yes,
Yeah.
it is the Bulgarian title.
and
The novel is Thursday.
yeah, uh-huh.
It was published in the United States. It was published in Italy with the title Symphonia.
Uh-huh.
It was published in China with the title Thursday. Published in Macedonia and in Serbia
Right.
with the title Thursday. It was selected to be among 100 best novels written by Slavic writers
Wonderful.
after the fall of Berlin Wall.
Wonderful, wonderful. Congratulations again for that. And
Thank
let me,
you.
yeah,
I'm really happy that
Yes.
it was selected.
Yes, yes, it is big. Let me quickly ask you, because it's very interesting when you have such two titles for a novel, because you know, on the internet, this book is showing up as The City of Joy and Peace, and you said that your
No, the
publisher,
City of Joy and Peace is a different
The Arch,
novel.
yeah, The Arch.
The Arch.
The Arch, and here you have the Bulgarian title, and it is called Thursday in some places.
Yeah.
And so, how do you feel about these two titles? I mean,
I'm
and
absolutely okay
Okay,
with these
uh-huh,
titles because it shows the difference of thinking between us Bulgarians and people in the United States or in Italy. Usually, for example, a book that was called in Bulgarian The Green Ice of the Wind. My American publisher, the philosopher Mark Estrin, he says he dislikes this title. So we chose the title Asylum for Men and Wolves. Asylum for Men and Wolves. And I agreed, especially with another novel of mine that he published. It was the Bulgarian title of that novel was let me remember how it was. It was the Bulgarian title was, let me see how it was. He wanted to call it the frogs of the Struma River. I said no
Right.
way, because this novel was about the people I knew that lived in the
that
Struma
area.
River.
I just am back from Dubrovnište, and I saw the Struma River a little bit en route. So you know, I can
It is
just
a
relate to
wonderful
it like anything right now. It's a beautiful one, and it curves around in many places, and I think it flows all the way to Greece.
Yeah.
So does it figure out in the? I mean, does it appear in the novel a lot?
It does
Struma,
appear in
yeah,
the novel
yeah.
a lot. So the novel stayed 4 months without any title. Finally, we called it You Can Smile on Wednesday.
Oh, I was just going to ask you about this because we were talking about Thursday, and now there is this novel called You Can Smile on Wednesday. So please tell us, you know, more.
This is a novel again
Yeah.
about contemporary Bulgaria. It tells, well, the center of it are the destinies of three sisters. One is would like to read so much. She reads so much all the time, although she lives in a small town where her reading does her no good. On the contrary, people think that she's strange, but strange not in an attractive way, just in a repulsive way. They are
Right.
not afraid of her, but they just ridicule her. They think that she's funny in a wrong way,
Right.
in an unpleasant way. Although she's maybe the most well-read person there. She is the most well-read person, but nobody will understand how important and precious this is. So this novel, through the destinies of these three sisters,
Right.
concentrates on different aspects of contemporary life in Bulgaria.
Amazing, wonderful. I mean, I could just keep on talking about your books and the topics that interest you, but before I step out of that zone, let me quickly talk about your stories a little bit. The one that has been talked about a lot, has been enacted as plays, is the one called Blood, and on the internet there's lots about the symbolic meanings, the metaphor of blood here, which is about a pet store owner right? And it's very, very touching. Do you want to say something about that?
Yes, this was a short story that I wrote when I was very, very young. Uh, it is exactly about a pet shop owner. One day, a woman, a very thin woman, middle-aged woman, enters the shop and she says, "Do you have blood of a mole?"
Yeah.
And the owner says, "No, I don't sell moles here. I don't have mole's blood." And the woman, the customer says, "My son is ill. He will die." And then the owner of the shop says, "I will give you blood of a mole." She goes in a small room. She cuts her hand and gets some drops of her own blood and gives the woman in a very small bottle, glass bottle, this blood.
Right.
The woman sees the wound and understands that it's not blood of a mole yet, and she goes away. But after 3 or 4 weeks, she comes back and she kisses the pet owner, the shop's owner, and said, "My son walks. He's okay." So this rumor spreads immediately, and on the following day, a throng of people waits in front of the shop. Everybody has a knife in his hand and a sick person at home.
Oh my God.
So this novel was selected first in Antioch Review, was published in Antioch Review. Then it was selected among it was selected in the New Southern Fiction Anthology, including the best short stories published in the United States after 2000, after the beginning of 21st century. The best short stories under 2,000 words published in the United States after the beginning of 21st century. After this short story was published in this anthology, I was contacted by an agency for writers rights to publish the short story. They asked me if I still hold the rights, the publishing rights, publication rights. I said yes, I do, and they included this short story in an anthology anthology of recommended readings for junior high schools in the United States of
Amazing.
America.
Yeah.
And this short story was included in the curriculum of high schools for teaching English in Denmark. So
Amazing.
it was very unexpected for me.
Yeah, but it is an amazing story with so many layers of meaning.
It is really a very short story. I wrote it when I was quite unhappy. Because
But it's very deep, you know. You could, on a very basic level, talk about blood donation, medical infrastructure,
it was called
psychology.
Blood of a Mole,
Yeah.
but the publishers in the New Southern Fiction and also in the textbooks
Right.
wanted to call it blood, not blood of a mole.
Yeah,
just
just blood, and I think it's very deep. So so again, accept my congratulations, and I hope that it will be more popular as the world gets more bloodthirsty, or it will stop getting bloodthirsty, reading your story. So, ma'am, I want to ask a little bit about your writing habits, your life, yourself, just a little bit. So, when do you mostly write? At night or during the day? In the morning, because I know that you have long working hours. You also do some translation for the government, for the European Union, which is very sensitive, of very classified documents.
not so much classified, as very necessary.
Right.
So this is I write at night when all members of my family are asleep. So when they ask me, do you have enough time
For your family?
Yeah, for my family and for writing. What do you think of inspiration?
Yeah.
I said, my poor inspiration, I wouldn't like I myself to be in its place, because, well, it has no other choice but come when I'm not sleeping.
Right.
So my poor inspiration is always there when I need it most.
Yes.
And when everybody else is asleep and I'm writing. In the morning I cannot even remember what I have written.
Right.
But sometimes I'm amazed.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, oh come on, I must be crazy to have written this. And sometimes
Right.
I cannot believe I have written it.
Uh-huh.
But it is always surprising, and this surprise keeps me awake, and I would like to go on writing because it is. I constantly surprise myself.
Wonderful. How nice.
Yeah.
And like about how many hours at night? 2?
Well, it happens sometimes an hour, sometimes 3 hours.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
When
right.
my kids were young, then I wrote in between 2 crying babies.
Ah.
But you can't stop it.
Yes.
We are just doomed to write. You